What I'm optimistic about is we're going to see a change. We're going to see a reset. And I think we need that at the federal level. The United States, there's no question, the United States is behind other leading countries like the UK, like Switzerland, like Singapore, like Japan, that are way ahead in providing constructive and clear regulation and rules of the road for this industry.
Another milestone, let's call it, for XRP, which is this idea that you have asset managers now filing for ETFs tied to it, started by Bitwise. What is the prospect of having that spot ETF tied to XRP anytime soon, and what do you think it'll mean for the price of XRP?
Look, I think we clearly are seeing ETFs have been popular. You know, the United States SEC was dragged kicking and screaming to approve the Bitcoin ETF in January. I think you've seen about $17 billion flow into that ETF. I think it's the fastest growing ETF in history. It's very clearly demonstrating there's demand from institutions, there's demand from retail to access this asset class. So the XRP interest has grown. You've seen 2 or 3 ETF filings happen around XRP. And to me, it's just inevitable. You're going to see not just Bitcoin and ETH, you're going to see an XRP ETF. You're starting to see there's a filing around a basket ETF that has, I think, 5 or 6 cryptos in it, which I think also makes a lot of sense. But it also is just part of the trend of more and more institutionalized participation in the crypto industry. So I think we're going to continue to see that. And I do think it creates upward pressure on the prices for many different cryptos, including XRP.
The flows into the Bitcoin ETFs have been pretty remarkable. Not so remarkable have been flows into the ETH ETFs. What indication do you have, Brad, that there actually is demand for an XRP ETF?
Well, I would disagree that there's not, that the ETH ETF, I think, has done exceptionally well. It hasn't done as well as Bitcoin, but if you look at the kind of market dominance of Bitcoin compared to ETH, the ratio is about the same in terms of the ETF participation. Obviously, the ETH ETF is newer. So I actually think the ETH ETF has done very well. I think we clearly see a very interested and active community around the XRP ecosystem, both here in the United States and beyond, and that has grown. And so I think that a XRP ETF will do quite well.
Your co-founder, Chris Larsen, has given a lot of money to the Harris campaign. You had just told us a little bit ago that you are fiercely independent. And so when you think about the differences in the candidates and how they might approach crypto, what do you really know, particularly because the Harris campaign has been far more vague?
Well, I think there's one thing I feel very confident about, and that is the Biden administration's approach to regulation of the crypto industry. That is coming to an end for sure. And I think no matter where this plays out at the presidential level, we'll have a more constructive engagement with this industry. It's a critical industry, it's an innovative technology, and I think the United States should be at the forefront and leading, as we did with the Internet of Information. I think we'll get there. As I said yesterday at the Philadelphia Federal Reserve, I think Gary Gensler's reign of terror on the crypto industry is going to come to an end very soon.
Brad, in your view, does it matter if Kamala Harris is president come January 20th or Donald Trump is president come January 20th? What's better for you? What's better for Ripple?
Well, I've taken a very neutral point of view. For the crypto industry, I think it's clear that the Republicans at a macro level have been more proactive in saying this is an industry that needs clear regulation. You have seen a Republican-led bill in the House pass with 71 or 72 Democrats crossing the aisle to support that in a very bipartisan way. So I think we have seen a more Republican-centric but I also think you've seen indications that the Harris campaign wants to reset some of the very flawed approaches that the Biden administration has had with the crypto industry and other parts of technology. So what I'm optimistic about is we're going to see a change. We're going to see a reset. And I think we need that at the federal level. The United States, there's no question, the United States is behind other leading countries like the UK, like Switzerland, like Singapore, like Japan, that are way ahead in providing constructive and clear regulation and rules of the road for this industry.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And also, guys, make sure you go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we have Ripple's XRP Brad Garlinghouse speaking on the potential of an XRP spot ETF. Says that it's inevitable. And he sidesteps the question on Chris Larson giving money to Kamala's campaign. And he says that either candidate will support these digital assets and support the reset. And Republicans are leading the way. And we know this is to be facts because we know the Democrats and Republicans support the NWO's agenda. And that's the fourth industrial revolution. And the global economy is going to go through a great reset. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Now we have Eric Golden from Canopy Capital on CNBC speaking about the Bitcoin ETFs taking off. And guys, we know that was due to Grayscale. Grayscale flow went right on over to BlackRock. And again, we're in a plan. And it moves in phases. And inflation is not going away. But that's not going to stop the Fed from cutting rates. And you know the crypto teacher told you from the beginning. They're going to be cutting rates right inside this inflation. And this legacy market is going to be destroyed so this digital economy can rise. And states that Democrats are a little late for crypto. But guys, we know this is nothing but the Hegelian dialectic. The bird needs both wings to fly. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And the government deficit. And yes, it has to be cut. And I keep bringing you clips of this because we're hearing this from mainstream media constantly because they're trying to get you mentally prepared. The United States world reserve currency is about to end, and that's going to affect all of us. And that's the reason why it's so important to get educated on this new economy so it's a smooth transition. Remember, guys, technology can be used for good or evil. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have major manufacturing companies taking a hit. But again, guys, we know this is all part of the plan because they want to automate the rest of the manufacturing. And this is being led by the big corporations. Remember, we went from a manufacturing economy to a service economy. And like I told you, we went from being creators to actually consumers. If you're making the things that you're using on a daily basis, it's going to give you a creative mind where you're going to start fixing problems. And that's the reason why we see a lot of this innovation coming from overseas because they're manufacturing all the products. So they get to see the problems that need to be fixed. But moving us over from manufacturing to service was all a big plan. It wasn't planned for decades. For the perfect moment. And this is the chosen generation. Man versus machine. And right now they're dangling that carrot. The machines, AI is here to help you, to make you better. And then we know eventually the machines and AI take over the system and then you become useless in the economy. At least that's what they want you to think. We had our big banks and big corporations pushing this agenda for a handful of families that run the world. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
I think it's been three things. The first is that in September, we saw central banks around the world cut rates, and 21 banks cut. We haven't seen that coordination since COVID or the Great Financial Crisis. Stocks are all-time highs, bond spreads are at all-time tights. We're stimulating a very robust economy, which is going to push risk assets higher. The second is the election. We have, whether you believe the betting polls, the actual polls, the market sentiment you have on your show, people believe Trump's in the lead. And if Trump wins, that's bullish for crypto. And the final thing is the point you made, is that the ETF is probably the most successful product in recent memory. Spot Bitcoin is now at $65 billion AUM. It's raised $20 billion in 12 months. That's 5 times faster than gold got to that level. And so I think every asset management firm, some were ahead on crypto, some are behind. Every asset management firm now has to decide what's our position on Bitcoin, what are the products we want to launch.
There was, I'm trying to remember, what was the most recent surge in gold to new highs? What do you think? That was partly the Fed, I think, in printing more money, but there are a couple of other things where Bitcoin was non-correlated with gold. It almost looked like gold was doing what it was supposed to do, what it was designed for. and Bitcoin was just acting like a risk-on, risk-off asset. Is it really what it's cracked up to be in terms of only $21 million debasement means that it's going to be good for Bitcoin? Because it doesn't act like it's truly going to do that. You think eventually that will be borne out?
No, I agree with you. If you zoom back out to March, Bitcoin's been a nothing burger. So yes, year to date it's been high, but we have so much volatility in this asset class. It's not yet gotten to the point where gold is truly the flight to quality.
Right.
If you think both candidates are talking about increasing the deficit trillions of dollars.
Right.
Inflation isn't going away. The Fed's cutting. There's lots of reasons that investors are concerned.
If it really was truly a digital gold, it
should be up.
It should have been doing better.
And I think it's acting more like a risk asset. And
Right.
what's happening now is what I'm surprised at, which is that the Fed cut aggressively and then told the market it was going to cut even more. What the volatility we're seeing in the bond market right now is the market bringing back that timeline of they're not going to cut that aggressively, that rapidly. But if the Fed did follow that path, you would expect all risk assets to be higher. Independent of who the president is, I expect risk assets to be higher in 25.
We've had people on that everybody's got an axe to grind, obviously, but now I'm being told that that Vice President Harris is now amenable to crypto, or at least been for people that like crypto and don't want to say, vote for Donald Trump. They're now saying, I'm hearing good things from Kamala. Has she been intimating that she's friendlier toward, because Elizabeth Warren and many Bernie Sanders, people on the left do not like crypto.
Yeah, I think the Democrats on messaging, this is a little too late in the process to start, to your point, intimating that they might be pro-crypto. So I don't think it's falling. I think it's falling on deaf ears.
And if she wins the election, then would you jump on the bandwagon and say, okay, you said you were going to warm up to us?
I think people are hopeful. I mean, yesterday you had Mark Cuban on, and I think it was Andrew who pointed out, look, the Democrats, they sidelined Elon at an EV event. They're isolating Silicon Valley. You're going after crypto. I think there's been a lot of relationships that have been mishandled. And I'd love to see, if Harris becomes the president, I'd like to see those relationships rebuilt, because this is a growing and important asset class for the world. And we can't just turn our heads because there's a couple of senators that really dislike it.
As you said, that it's a spending problem. And by the way, I don't think a lot of people will disagree that we probably have to spend less, or at least figure out what we're doing on the growth of the spending. The question, and then you said, well, if it's a spending problem, some people look at that and go, well, then it's not a tax problem. But you seem to suggest maybe it is a tax problem, too, or not.
Yeah, well, I'm saying that interest on the debt is like a tax. It's a deferred tax increase, and it has a huge effect on us. It has inflationary aspects, and so I do think if we won't cut spending, we have to raise taxes. It's one or the other, or both. It will probably be both.
Probably both. Okay, so let's talk about the spending piece of it. What would you cut? We're making you a politician for the day here. A CEO who wants to cut. Meaningfully, by the way, not just around the edges.
No, well, there's only one place to go. 75 cents on every single dollar that the federal government gets, it spends on transfer payments and interest on the debt. There's only 25 cents left for spending everything else. 12 is defense. You're not going to cut there. The other 12 is everything we think of to grow this country, which is education, research, infrastructure. You're not going to cut there. You have to figure out a way over the longer term to deal with the transfer payments, which are not investments in the future and don't even pay for the infrastructure we have to fix. So that is the politically tough issue. But when I led President Clinton's Entitlement and Tax Reform Commission, we put out a whole host of options, increasing the retirement age, mean testing some of these programs that are transfer payments, dealing with the high cost of medical care, a number of issues like that. That's where you have to go.
Well, if you go back a generation, Becky, and you looked at a list of the most admired manufacturers in America, you would have had Intel and Boeing pretty near the top of that list. You probably would have also had General Electric. And it's really just sad and shocking what's happened to all three companies in the last 25 years. GE is a shadow of its former self. Intel is struggling to compete with TSMC in Taiwan. And Boeing, well, I mean, the story speaks for itself. It's struggling. It's not crazy any longer to talk about breakup or bankruptcy. And the point I'm trying to make here, Becky, is this isn't just an issue for shareholders. It's an issue for the country. These countries epitomize what was once the greatest part of American manufacturing. They didn't just make any products. They made the world's most advanced products, which had vastly positive spin-offs for the economy and our national security. If we lose any of those companies, I think it's very troubling for the country.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting more right now with Bloomberg's Sonali Basak. Sonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the new World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books, It's Time to Re-Educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Xrp, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID 33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.